Thank you so much. Good morning, California. Oh, I'm so glad that you guys had your Wheaties this morning. Well, we won't talk about what they put in my cornflakes, but I am so excited to be here, fired up and ready to go, and ready to hear President Obama accept our party's nomination for a second term after the crescendo we've been able to build this week from Tuesday with the First Lady and Mayor Castro, last night with our wonderful 42nd President, William Jefferson Clinton, making the case for President Obama and clearly laying out the choice that we have in this election. And tonight we'll hear from President Obama how we need to make sure that the place that we came from, the honest conversation that he'll have with the American people tonight about where we were when the economy was about to go over a cliff thanks to the failed policies of the past, and now we're headed in the right direction. 29 straight months of job growth in the private sector, and that we need to make sure that we keep our pedal to the metal and ensure that we have a president in the White House that has the back of the middle class and working families. And so we will hear from President Obama that hopeful message that talks about how we can move forward together. But I am so happy to be here in Battleground, California. Now, Alex mentioned, and Alex Rocker does a fantastic job as your vice chair, and John Burton, your chairman, and the leadership of this party, and the colleagues that I serve with in the United States Congress do such an incredible job. First of all, the Battleground California plan is to make sure that we re-elect your United States Senator Dianne Feinstein. We also, you know, so often, and let me just tell you how much I appreciate the oasis of democratic politics that California is. I know that you all feel like you live in heaven, understandably so. Now, for me, coming from South Florida, and I represent Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, and Miami Beach, so I like to say that I'm Debbie Wasserman Schultz, D. Paradise. But you probably are one of the few places in the country that could rival the community that I represent. But I am so proud to be here to talk about what's at stake in this election. And what's at stake in this election for Californians is no less than our ability to make sure that when President Obama is reelected on November 6th, that the 7 battleground red to blue races that we have in California are the keys to making sure that we win the majority back in the United States House of Representatives. You guys, you all are our secret weapon. There's not so much focus or attention on the fact that California is the key to our success. Because while it's absolutely essential, and I'm confident that over the next 61 days, we are going to continue to take the steps to send our president back to the White House for a second term, we know that in order to make sure that he can implement the agenda that he's been fighting so hard for, and that the Republican extremist obstructionists in the Tea Party have been blocking him at every turn, we know that the key to having the kind of legislative success is to make sure that we have a majority in the United States House of Representatives. And so let's just fly on I'm okay with flying under the radar in California on the 7 races that are important here. Let the resources and the attention to some degree go other places, and let's quietly continue to organize and mobilize and ensure that we send those 7 members, new members, to help us win our majority and make sure that we can restore Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives in her rightful place. Let me acknowledge someone who also has a lot of balls in the air and has about as many jobs as I have. My colleague in the Congress and the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee and the most warm and wonderful, passionate and compassionate individual that I know, Congressman Mike Honda. Love you, Mike. He's been such a good friend. Mike and I served on the Appropriations Committee together, and when we win the majority back, I will return to the Appropriations Committee and be able to make sure that we can continue to actually have sound budgetary practices. And let's talk about that for a moment, because we really have 2 paths and 2 visions. that have been laid before the American people. I don't know that I remember a time when we had a more clear choice, a more stark contrast. It's really remarkable how extreme the Republicans are in terms of the direction they would take us. I mean, they really believe that we should return to the trickle-down economics of the past that nearly crashed our economy and got us into the worst economic crisis we've seen since the Great Depression. And they really want to double down on those policies. And I sit as a member of the Budget Committee. So does Mike. We have a front row seat to the Romney-Ryan vision of how we should budget. Let me tell you, it is not pretty. What they want to do, and the budget hearings we've sat through, it's astonishing. They really think that we should take a hacksaw to education, to college aid, to health care, to research, to the kinds of investments that are going to make sure that we can out-educate and out-innovate and out-compete the rest of the world. They really believe, and they've proposed, that we increase taxes on the middle class to pay for more budget-busting tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. Just to give you a very specific example, in their proposal, which actually adds $5 trillion in tax breaks skewed towards the wealthy, you would need 125 individuals in the middle class to pay for one tax break for someone who makes $3 million, one $250,000 tax break for someone who makes $3 million. I mean, that is unbelievable. I don't know, it's hard to understand what planet they are living on. But the extremism that they have embraced doesn't stop there. Other than Florida, I think we have you beat on the percentage of seniors as in terms of our population. You have us on the actual number of seniors. They've actually proposed in the Romney-Ryan plan to end Medicare as we know it, to turn Medicare into a voucher system, to voucherize Medicare, to shred the health care safety net, end the Medicare promise, end the safety net that has said to seniors in our country for more than 50 years that there's going to be a floor through which we're not ever going to allow you to fall through. What Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan say is, no, we shouldn't do that anymore. Medicare shouldn't be a promise. We should take some scissors and cut some holes in that safety net and leave it to chance whether or not your health care will be there for you. We should risk making you, as a senior, go medically bankrupt, or your family go medically bankrupt trying to care for you when your coverage runs out or when you can't afford it. Medicare is so critical for the health and well-being of our senior citizens, and we can't allow Romney and Ryan to lead anyone to believe that seniors now wouldn't be affected. And who made that case better than President Clinton last night? If there's someone, I can't think of them. It's very clear that because the Romney-Ryan plan repeals Obamacare, and we embrace the term Obamacare because Obama cares. We know Obama cares. When you repeal Obamacare, and Alex referenced this, and this true story, I mean, it's not just one senior. In my district, I have stood behind too many seniors who, when 5 or 6 prescriptions come to the counter, they have to leave 2 or 3 of them behind because they can't afford to take them all home. Or the seniors that have told me they have to have the pharmacist score their pills so they can break them in half and double the length of time that the prescription lasts because they can't afford to refill them as often as their doctor says they should. That is a tragedy that would be even worse under the Romney-Ryan plan because it would return seniors to the time before the donut hole was closed that they had to choose between medicine and meals. So seniors right now, with the repeal of Obamacare under the Romney-Ryan plan, would have to pay much more for their prescription drugs because they reopened the donut hole. Seniors would no longer be able to get the preventative care that they can get in Obamacare. That would affect seniors right now. No more wellness visit available without a copay or a deductible to keep seniors healthy and catch illness early. No more screenings like mammograms and colonoscopies, ensuring that instead of a focus on wellness and prevention, like Obamacare does, we go back to the sick care system that the healthcare system has been previously. We go back to a time when insurance companies could drop you or deny you coverage for a pre-existing condition. Their plan affects seniors now because they would restore the wasteful subsidies that went to Medicare Advantage companies. And instead of plowing that money back in to Medicare and adding the 8 years of solvency that we did, Medicare would go bankrupt, as President Clinton talked about last night, by 2016. Sooner than is already projected without the solvency that Obamacare has added. So let me tell you something. We have 61 days. 61 days to continue our grassroots, people-powered campaign, as opposed to the special interest-funded, corporate-infused, super PAC-fueled campaign that they've been running. We need to make sure we're already working so hard. I know that so many of you, and I know I've said this over and over, each election cycle, that this is the most important election of our lives. Well, the only difference with 2012 is that this one really is. and we need to make sure that all the progress that we've made can continue. Let me close by bringing you back to election night of November 6th, election night of 2008. Do you remember the feeling that you had when you saw President Obama in Grant Park and you knew that he was going to be the next president of the United States? Because I remember that feeling. It was historic and euphoric. Now, when you think about 2012, think about all the progress that we've made. Think about the impact it's had on you and your family and those you love. And work harder than you've ever worked before over the next 61 days, because 2008 was historic. 2012 is personal. It's personal for all of us in some way, and we're not going back. We're going to live, sleep, and breathe this campaign and wake up on the morning of November 7th seeing the headlines in California papers across the state that say Barack Obama, re-elected President of the United States, on to victory on November 6th. Thank you so much.